Hey, hi, hello. Back in February, I decided I was going to draw my girlfriend and I's OCs. It's currently April. Why do I do this to myself? Real quick before we get into this, I'm going to do a quick roll call for the characters in this piece, just so you know who I'm talking about as we go. This fiery girl right here is Hyphen. The tablecloth with her is known as MP. How they were never set ablaze is a mystery. And then we have my precious baby girl Kay, next to this absolute creature of a man, Tanlin. Love him as a character. Adore his design and all that, but are we going to get into the trouble he caused me later? Before that, though, I feel it's necessary to give a bit more context on this drawing, the history behind it, and what I wanted to portray. So, my girlfriend and I met February 16th, 2018, on a little app called, My sibling introduced me to the app, and almost immediately after downloading it, I made a roleplay chat and waited for people to join. Which is, of course, where I met her. She was the first stranger I'd ever really spoken to on the internet, and we were both, admittedly, rather awkward at the start. But by some divine miracle, we kept talking and building a rapport, despite it all. I remember that first day we met, I spent the entire day in my room, eating leftover holiday candy in the dark and eagerly awaiting her responses. After that first meeting, we basically became inseparable. We've grown up together, and I honestly can't imagine my life without her. We never stopped role-playing either. Our stories have grown with us, new characters replacing the old, and new settings filling the places of the old ones. We've grown from the fandom we started in and created an entire world just for us. And honestly, having a world just for two is an incredibly special experience I would never give up. And so, as we came up on the 6th-year anniversary of our first meeting, I knew I wanted to highlight how far we've come as storytellers and character designers. I decided on using our first characters, Hyphen and MP, and two of our newer characters, Talon and Kay, to show our progress and create connections to the past. But the process of getting there was anything but easy. Okay, so, right off the bat, I did not make this easy for myself. I mean, did you see that paper sketch? What was I even thinking that would do? All it gave me was a vague placement for the characters. My god. Looking back at the speed paint, there was a lot of little ideas I wanted to add that got scrapped for time. At one point, when I thought I was making good time, I wanted to give everyone a simple little animation to add a little something extra to the piece. That did not happen. Hell, there was supposed to be an extra character in the drawing that never made it past the first sketching stage. Later on in the process, I even seriously toyed with the idea of adding the animals that symbolize Kay and Talon running next to them, though I never actually made an attempt to add them in, since I'm not exactly known for my ability to draw cats. However, there was one thing that stayed pretty consistent throughout the entire process. One person that I barely had to fiddle with. And that person was Hyphen. She was straightforward and easy. I knew exactly how she was supposed to look and had enough references from the old days to ensure the color palette was on point. The hardest part was deciding if I should include the iconic stripe on her shirt, which I did eventually add in near the end. Despite how easy Hyphen was to draw, I don't actually remember much about her character. I know she was chaotic, wild, possessed blue and black flames, and absolutely loved glitter, but beyond that, it's largely guesswork. So, let's take a look at our old wikis and see what I wrote down back then. Oh god. Oh god. I can't believe I ever wrote like that. Okay, so, since she technically has two bios or wikis, we're just gonna go with the most common information from both. Hyphen is a human and a glitch, meaning she isn't really supposed to exist within the code of her world. Because of this, her father, a man named Creator, saw fit to use her and her siblings as test subjects in his quest to create a quote-unquote perfect world. How he intended to use glitches to do this, I don't know. Eventually, Hyphen managed to escape her father and his lab, living a life of mistrust and fear until she met and befriended a cloak known as MP. Nowadays, she likes to live life with a smile on her face and a laugh in her heart, especially around those she loves. However, there are many times when that smile seems a bit too forced. That is the most simplified version of her bios. There's a lot more I could tell you about how she developed over time and how she still impacts the story to this day. However, that would require an in-depth description of the worlds she's existed in and their lore. And that would honestly need a whole video on its own. So I'm not at all opposed to doing that sometime, if I can. If I were to ever do something like that, I would certainly need help from the person who I started this whole journey with. And luckily enough for us, she's oh so willing to come on and provide a bit of context for her OCs today. So let's start with the aforementioned MP. Everybody say hello and listen closely to the love of my life, Light.
He is a character that I made a long time ago, which was inspired by the old days of, well, the Undertale fandom. Not the bad one, but the more of the 2018 one when everyone was obsessed about making an OC and fan fairies. Yeah, that one. I essentially made a abomination in a trench coat. It's kind of Temmies stacked on top of each other, except I said the Temmies for the souls. 3 souls, human souls. One of them, which is the fear one from the, that series that went on? I forget its name now, but it was the pink soul that everyone was like, oh dang, it's animated. You know what I mean? And he wasn't a they or she or he, it was a it at the moment, and then it slowly started to evolve into a he as time progressed. And P then lost the role, became a character that isn't on here, but transformed into Timon, now my main OC. He is a fucking idiot. Just gonna say it. He's an idiot. Absolute god awful moron who knows how to make it laugh and pulls the craziest shit. I can't talk about him too much here, but he's the representation of death in our story. Sure, he doesn't look like it, but but he does pull from some of the aspects of the old MP, the scythe especially.
Isn't she just the greatest? Yeah, she is. You know what isn't the greatest? This freaking drawing process. There was so much fiddling with the poses and designs of these next two characters. Both Kay and Talon gave me quite a bit of trouble throughout the entire process. However, since I do tend to draw Kay the most, I'd say the majority of those problems were solved rather quickly. She's my baby girl after all, so of course she can't cause me too many problems. But let me tell you a bit about Kay before we go any further. Kay is currently my main OC, and has been for quite a while now. She struggles with insomnia, extreme hepaphobia, and an unhealthy dose of trauma. Come on, none of our OCs are okay. She's a mortal human in her early 20s and absolutely possesses the extreme rashness that comes with young adulthood, much to her family's chagrin. Though that's not entirely due to her youth. Because of the nature of the story, she possesses more knowledge and memories than someone her age should. And amongst those memories are ones of her own rather brutal deaths. Over time, she's become numb to these memories, and in her mind uses that numbness to her advantage. No longer fearing death and able to cope with pain beyond her years, she's able to take risks that let her keep up with those that are more powerful than her, namely her adoptive family. For whatever reason, Kay seems to attract some rather powerful people to her side. She never does so intentionally, but it's happened enough times that even she's started to see a pattern, one which some view as suspicious when paired with a few disappearances that also seem to draw back to her companionship. Despite everything, she will do almost anything to learn about the world around her and protect those that she cares for. You can see why I like Kay, right? An insatiably curious woman who has no care for self-preservation so long as her family is safe and she can know more about the horrors of her world. How could I not enjoy playing her? But now, let's move on to one of my other favorite characters, Talon. He certainly gave me the most trouble whilst drawing him. He has a certain way to him which I was desperate to express in his pose and general expression that I don't think I really accomplished. However, I really didn't make it easy for myself. This is largely my first time really drawing him, and I sort of threw myself into the deep end by making this my first attempt without any practice sketches or prior attempts under my belt. So for my first time drawing him, I'm pretty happy despite the hell that I put myself through. And I can't wait to draw him again. But that's enough from me. My wife has a far better grasp on Talon as her character, and will do him more justice than I ever could, so please, take it away.
Now, Talon progressed from MP because of what happened during our story. We wanted to create something that was more than Undertale. And P began to wonder what it really was. And the more and more it figured out itself, it became more known and more curious. and found a soul within themselves. They didn't know if they had an existent body somewhere, but over time, the hood finally came off. And a character I cannot describe here was born, who was the beta version of Tanlin. He was not exactly the most friendly or the most developed, but later he becomes a villain in our series. Tanlin is an alternate version of that actually makes a point. Tanlin is more represented in this by being still connected to MP with the scythe, of course, being more a symbol for death, and the cloak being representative for the Reaper, since he is now the god of death. He doesn't look the part, but in our story, looks are deceiving.
Thank you, love. That was wonderful and absolutely well said. Overall, I'm really happy with how this piece came out. Are there things I would change if I could? Absolutely. And maybe someday I will go back and redraw this piece. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this whole video. It's longer than what I'm used to, but I hope you liked it as much as I liked making it.